God, that we're just unaware of. So we thank you for that. We ask today that your Holy Spirit would be in this room, that your Holy Spirit would do what only it can do, God, that it would be in hearts, that we would be able to have open dialogue. And God, I pray that we will walk out of here excited about what the future holds and a belief in one another. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, right now we're going to introduce the panel, starting with Ms. Naomi. Teens, if you're 17 and 10 months, correct, 17 and 10 months, Monday, her name will be on the ballot, so make sure you listen and see if this is character that you like.
Well, thank you all for having me here today. My name is Naomi Showers Doyle, and I am running to be your next Justice of the Peace for Precinct 1, Place 1. So that's all of North and West Beaumont. I look forward to being our first African-American female judge in the JP Court. So that's a big deal. I am from this community. I graduated from Ozan High School. I went on to get my bachelor's and my master's from Lamar University, and I have for almost a decade been the elections manager here in Jefferson County, where I administer the elections, make sure they're with integrity and accuracy for all 250,000 citizens in Jefferson County. So I am prepared and I am passionate about bettering our community. I'm here, I'm for our community, I am the people's candidate. So I look forward to talking to you all and hopefully getting you guys ready and geared up to be some future leaders.
My name is Jim Singletary. I'm the Chief of Police of the Beaumont Police Department. And I brought some backup with me. I want some young backup with me. I'm very proud of the police officers we have in our department. The young folks just like you guys, y'all are our future. And you guys, you ladies and gentlemen, have to know how important you are to us, to our society. And we've got a lot of programs that are geared towards the young folks, and even some recruiting programs. I would love for some of y'all to even consider a job in law enforcement. That's one of the reasons I brought some of my folks here right now. I'd like to introduce to you some of my backup. This is Tony Harding. Tony Harding is a Beaumont patrol officer and one of our best also. I have Caesar Biotti. He's in the back. Caesar, raise your hand. His rookie is Officer Trahan. And you guys know Officer Berry back there. These are just examples of some of the great young men, and we have some great young women at the Beaumont PD, and we're trying our best to keep you ladies and gentlemen safe, and we love you guys to be a part of what we're trying to do. And thank y'all so much for being here, and thank you very much for the invitation for us to be here.
Like you said, I'm Tony Harding. I'm from Beaumont, born and raised in South Park. I went to school with Pastor Cormier, unfortunately, and I got out of there as soon as I could. I went to Legacy to get as far away from him as I could. Like I said, I'm from here. I'm born and raised. I've been an officer here for 7.5 years.
How y'all doing? I think the shirt says speak up. How's everybody doing? Good. My name is Charlie Porter. I'm the Chief Deputy at the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. I am been in police work for about 33 years now. Proud to say that I'm born and raised here in Beaumont and from this north end. I'm excited to be here. I thank you for the invitation. And I'm excited to see all you young people here. As the chief over there said earlier, you are the future. Again, speak up. Any questions, don't hesitate. No question is a stupid question, okay?
How's everyone doing? My name is Dante Miller, and I'm the major over law enforcement for Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. I've been in law enforcement now for going to be 18 years this month, and like you, I was once young, and I started very young in this career. So the trend of law enforcement, I have been seeing it, and I've seen the old and I've seen the new. So I spoke up at a young age, and these guys up here, this panel, helped me get through my career. So, hey, ask me any questions, educational, law enforcement, anything, and I'll give you the best answer I can give you.
All right, thanks again, panel, for taking time to listen to the teams. We'll start off start off with a question, so whoever wants to be the first to speak up.
All right, and we also, just again, we want you guys to know, man, this environment is solely for you. So this is a perfect opportunity for you guys to speak up. This is all about you all. So what we will do is if whoever the initial person will be, I think every 3 people, we will take the questions from online, because we do have people watching online that's going to submit some questions. But as you line up at the mic, just remember to space out there. I think we got it marked down on the floor. So whoever wants to go first.
Good evening. My name is Trinity Cheatham, and I have a two-part question for you all. Are you replacing the knee on the neck and chokehold techniques used currently by the Beaumont Police Department? Secondly, if you are, then what are the new techniques being taught? Thank you.
Can you repeat the first part? Couldn't hear.
Are you replacing the knee on the neck and chokehold technique?
She's asking if you're replacing the knee and your chokehold technique.
Yes, ma'am. We've done that. We are very fortunate to have some great citizens at the moment that really care about what's going on. And we talked with several groups, NAACP, 100 Black Men, and several of the younger folks. And yeah, we did replace that. We changed that technique, and it's no longer in place in our department.
And secondly, if so, like what techniques are you replacing?
We can do the same technique without using putting the knee on the neck. We can put it on the upper shoulder, upper back, and so there's a bunch of other options that our officers have from time to time. I hope you, ladies and gentlemen, know how difficult this job is for those young men and women in the street. There's some crazy people that they have to address and they have to arrest sometime, and it's not easy, ladies and gentlemen, and our guys are doing a heck of a good job, but it's not easy. But yeah, we got some more options. We try to stay away from the neck and the throat for sure.
Thank you.
Give the Sheriff's Department a chance to answer that question.
In response to that question, we have just amended our policy to make sure that that technique is not going to be used. It is not allowed by any deputies at all.
Thank you.
I also have a two-part question. It's for the police chief. Basically, I'm just wondering, what's the percentage of Beaumont police officers that actually live in Beaumont? Like, do you have something to monitor that? And the reason I ask that is because certain people act a certain way towards their community. So if they're not from that community, they don't know how to act a certain way with that community.
I don't know the percentage of I agree with you. Some officers, some people protect their community better than others. I honestly don't think that's an issue. It's a political issue. Our city councilmen don't like it, but we cannot tell, by law, we cannot tell a employee of the police department where to live. And so they can live wherever they want to. It's their right. But there are quite a few officers that do live outside the city. But we've never had an issue come up that's a reason for some officers to handle their job one way or the other. But I would have to guess that I would say probably less than 30-40%, maybe more. But I would be guessing. I'll be glad to get that to you. If you call me Monday, I'll get you an exact number. And thank you very much. That's an important question, I know, but we cannot tell a police officer where to live, except for me. I have to live in Beaumont, and I was born and raised in Beaumont, never lived any place else.
Can I get your card, please? The sheriff question. The same question for the sheriff.
Well, you want to know, I'll tell you just to kind of clarify, you want to know that lives here now, or you want to know
That
from
live here now.
live here now?
Well, first of all, for the sheriff's office, we have in our policy is 50-mile radius from within Jefferson County. Like the chief stated before, it's against state law to mandate someone to live in a certain place other than the sheriff and the chief of that department. But on that scale, recruiting, as the chief stated before, trying to recruit from within Beaumont, within Jefferson County is our priority. And we really try to focus on getting young men and women to go to police academy, to be brought up as policemen, and so we can get them into law enforcement. So your communities and everybody's communities can reflect who's working in those areas. So my hat off to you guys. I'm like, hey, go to school to be cops, and we release you guys to the communities that you patrol and everything.
Thank you.
Let me add to that question. Like I said, we can't mandate. Our department can't mandate who lives here and who doesn't, as long as they work for the department. But I can say that personally, I was born and raised here in South Park. Went to school in Dallas, went to college in Dallas. But when I decided that law enforcement was what I wanted to do, it was no question. I was going to come back home to try to make my own city better. So I grew up in the same neighborhoods that a lot of y'all are from. I probably played ball with some of y'all, or at least some of y'all brothers and sisters. But that was the first thing that came to my mind was, well, if I'm going to be a police officer, if I'm going to do it, then I'm going back home to do it, right? So, and I'm not the only officer with BPD. I'm sure I'm not the only one, even in Jefferson County, that had that same thought. So.
Mine's a statement and a question. So I know we hold the police accountable, like the officers accountable for what they do, but also can hold like the person in charge that hires those police also, you know? And the question is, along with like other tests that you have like a psychological test to see how does that police officer think against black people during this whole situation.
Repeat the first part of it.
Like we hold police officers accountable for their actions, well, what they do, because some of it is their choice for them to do that, but also like who's in charge to hire them, because they could have the same thoughts that they have, and because they have the same thoughts, they still hire them, knowing what they might end up doing. So my question is, do you have like a psychological test to see how they think now? Because then probably was different, but like to see how they think against.
Okay, let me talk about accountability. One of the most important things a chief of police or a sheriff does is dispense discipline. It is so important for me to do the right thing when officers come up. If an officer does something wrong and he's filed on internally for rudeness or improper arrest procedure, well then I have to make a decision. But what happens, this is something that's a system that's worked for a long, long time for us. A citizen can come down and complain on an officer, come down to internal affairs, and they'll fill out a complaint. And our internal affairs, two detectives that we have that are excellent detectives, it just so happens that both of them are very active in churches. They do an investigation, and then they make a recommendation. They present their investigation to a disciplinary review board, and this board is made up of the officers, captains and sergeants and chiefs. And then after that's presented, well, then they make a recommendation to me, and then I decide what to do. I'm the only one that can dispense discipline. So anytime I do something like that, any kind of discipline at all, it has an impact on the department. It has an impact on the community. So I take it very, very seriously. Most of the folks publicly are not aware of the discipline that I dispense on officers, especially when it involves termination. I hate to say it, but for me, the best part of the job is as a police officer on the street, and the worst part of the job is a police officer on the street. When they do something wrong and I have to discipline them, it hurts sometimes. But they have got to do the right thing. And so it's very important to me. It's a system that's worked. And if folks don't trust us, they can always go to the district attorney's office. They can go to the Texas Rangers. They can go to the FBI. But I really wish you ladies and gentlemen would know how important that me and the chief feel that discipline is done. It's very, very important to me. I take it very seriously. And real quick on recruiting, we do have psychological. We have a recruiting booklet up here in case any of you ladies and gentlemen want to come in and look at it. I would love for you guys to look at a recruiting booklet. It says everything you have to do to become a police officer. And you go through a background check, you go through a written test, a physical test, a psychological test, and polygraph test. So it's a tough test just to be a cop. And you brought us some great questions. We want police officers to be physically and psychologically sound. That's why we make a big deal on our application process, and I appreciate that answer, the opportunity to give you that answer.
If I may have follow up on that question. To answer your question, if I understand it correctly, what you were asking is, in a hiring process, if a person was biased towards one group or another, and the person hiring them had that same mindset, how is that handled? That's basically your question, correct? Let's understand that no system is perfect. As the sheriff, the chief, deputy chief, when we put someone in a position, say someone that's in charge of hiring, we look at their character. We want them to be of the same mindset that I would have. I want someone that's going to be fair. I want someone that's going to be thorough. I want someone that's thinking about the community. They have to take an effect, okay, when they're interviewing this person or going through that process, does this person fit what I as a leader am trying to achieve? That person goes through it and say the person hiring says, hey, this person is okay to hire. I think when the problem comes is if someone goes out and does something wrong, we have to hold them accountable. I'm just going to be real. We're speaking real. The issue so much is, as in any profession, we're going to have some people that are going to do some things that shouldn't be done. The problem arises when you have that and then nobody's held accountable. And quite frankly, I think that's what the outcry across the nation is people being held accountable.
And I just want to speak on accountability and from a different lens, just from you all as citizens. Let's talk about the police chief is an appointed position by the city council, right? And the city council is an elected position. Well, who elects our elected officials? Who is that? You, the voters, right? A sheriff is an elected position, right? So when you're seeing things within organizations, law enforcement, city council, things that have elected components in it, you, the voter, have the right and have the ability to make a change there. So don't take that for granted. If you don't like something, you have the right to go to that booth and you can make a decision to change it. Okay, so we want the people who are in those organizations to do the right things and make good choices, obviously. And I think we have some good leaders in those spots, but we also need to know that as voters, we have the right to speak our minds to say we don't like something or we do like something, right, when we go to that voting booth. So that's a piece of accountability that you have control over.
Thanks, and the next person make their way to the mic. I just follow up on that accountability. I know you said if you report, is there any other way other than me as a citizen making a complaint that you guys are doing to just police yourselves, I guess? I know you got the body cams, or y'all reviewing the body cams, or what type of audits? What's the process behind it, other than just us reporting?
That's a great question. We do review the body cam, but let me let Officer Harding talk a little bit about. He wears the body cams. I don't. Some of the things that they have to do to make sure we do it right.
So every day that I come to work, I have to have my body cam on me. There used to be various places that you could put the body cam on the belt, on the shoulder, all these other places, but we've kind of gone away from putting them on the belt because they fall off if you have to chase, or up on the shoulder. So we kind of want to split in the middle. But they review these body cam videos all the time. I can tell you personally, I was reminded, hey, start wearing your traffic vest. Because I would get out of the car on a car wreck and go to help people and forget to put my vest on. Well, that's in policy. You have to wear your traffic vest. So it's a small example, but it's something that I would have never caught if my lieutenants or my sergeants weren't going back and reviewing my body cam, even without me knowing, right? I didn't even know that they were looking at my body cam footage. So we review, or not we, I'm not a sergeant, but sergeants, lieutenants, your upper management, they review these body cam videos all the time. And so that's another way of us policing ourselves without the citizens having to ask for us to do it.
At the sheriff's department, we've implemented a process that officers wearing body cams every day. They come in, they dock. Well, we have in place now where their sergeant has to, on a monthly basis, make sure that they're reviewing videos. And that sergeant has to bring that information, has to let his supervisor, lieutenant know that he's reviewing video. And we also mandate that they have to have a log, and they enter in a log every time they review a video. Even if an officer reviews a video, it has to be logged. We will know who looked at the video, when it was looked at, and for what reason. And that goes all the way up the chain to the major here. So we make sure, having the body cam is good, but it's useless if nobody reviews it. So we've put in place processes where it has to be viewed, and it's documented that it's viewed. You talk about policing ourselves. We have a citizens review board. Anytime an officer is brought up or complained on, and it goes to the disciplinary review board, we also have a civilian board that looks at that complaint. Now, they don't make the decision on whether an officer is going to be punished or not. They make recommendations to the sheriff, and the sheriff, based on the facts of the case, makes her decision. I'll be honest, I have said, he and I have this conversation all the time. The public will never trust us until they see that we are policing ourselves and making sure that each of us is doing the right thing. I preach that constantly. If we want your trust, we have to show that we're out here actually trying to do things the correct way.
Let me add real quick. We also, along the line, we also have 3 cameras in our police cars. We have one that goes to the front, one goes to the rear, and one goes to the back seat. And again, this is like Chief Porter was talking about. We got to be accountable for you guys. I mean, we're accountable to our officers, but we're accountable to y'all. Y'all are the ones that we're trying to protect out there, and we've got to be accountable to you guys. And that's why we have 4 cameras on every operation. Every time any kind of citizen contact, we actually have 4 cameras. And so that's why we're trying to do as much as possible to let you guys know that we're doing our job.
And to reiterate, in the beginning, the chief was talking about internal affairs. Do you guys know who the sheriff is in Jefferson County? Do everyone here know who the sheriff is in Jefferson County? Okay, her name is Zena Stevens, okay? And Sheriff Stevens, I'm sorry, she, like Chief said, preaches accountability, not from our desk, not from our phones, but we actually have to go out and actually talk to these people who have complaints against the sheriff's office. One thing that I see a major problem is I don't know if people realize who to complain to when something bad happened, or if it's a situation to where they feel like, oh, that was kind of wrong, but I don't want to say nothing. I tell you, we all are responsible to telling you guys if it's at the sheriff's office, this is the phone number you call. This is the place where you go to make your initial complaint. Same thing as the city, this is where you go make your initial complaint. Because there's some stuff that goes on that we don't know about. We don't know what goes on. We don't know that officer probably stopped you, didn't have his camera on. And we would never know that because we're just reviewing cameras that's in the system. But if you guys don't come and actually make the complaint to the proper people, we won't never know some of those incidents happen that we can take care of. So just keep that in mind. We don't know everything that goes on our streets. We hold our officers accountable, and we expect that if you guys got a problem with them, y'all come tell us so we can take care of that officer.
All right, we appreciate that. We're going to take a question from online. Mrs. Gauthier from online stated, what should I do if I'm stopped by the police and I feel threatened? I'll repeat it one more time. What should I do if I'm stopped by the police and I feel threatened?
So if you're stopped by the police and you feel threatened, well, the first thing you should do is comply with what that officer is asking you to do. One of the things that I wish everybody knew was just how uncertain any kind of traffic stop is. Uncertain for everybody. So just like I tell Pastor Cormier from time to time, when I get out of my car on a traffic stop, one of the first things that goes to my mind is make sure you go home to your wife and your 2 kids. Right? So we're uncertain just like the person who's behind the steering wheel is uncertain, or in the passenger seat or in the back seat. So if you feel threatened, communicate that to us. Not with fists or running, but say, hey, sir, ma'am, I feel this. There's absolutely nothing wrong with speaking, right? So we expect to hear from y'all just like y'all expect to hear why we stopped you. We expect to hear a response. It's a conversation that needs to take place. But to shorten this, comply with what the officer is asking. If the officer is asking, hey, can I have your license and your proof of insurance, hand that to the officer. But in the process of handing that to the officer, say, hey, officer, I'm feeling threatened right now. That officer should respond by asking, well, why? Tell me what's going on, right? So we're not out to hurt anybody. That's not the purpose of the stop, is not to hurt somebody. So if you feel threatened, speak on it, say something. We won't know. We can read body language as best as we can, but we don't know exactly what's going on through your mind. So speak on it. Let us know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and we will do our best to make sure that both parties go away with as pleasant of an experience as there can be. Nobody likes to get a ticket, but getting a ticket is a whole lot better than having to go to jail or anything worse than that. So speak on it. We can both learn from each other. We can both communicate a little bit better on those kind of situations.
Well, has anyone ever felt threatened by a traffic stop in this room? And I raise my hand to that too. But sometimes it's feeling threatened. We got to understand, like Officer Harden said, we got to get through this traffic stop. And no one's life is worth losing, whether it's the officer or the person being stopped on that traffic stop. No one should die from a speeding ticket. No one should die from a brake light being on. And I know you guys have seen video after video when y'all felt as if the person wasn't doing anything wrong and bad things still happen to that person. And that has happened. And as law enforcement, that's why we're here to fix those things and try to fix those things to bridge that gap. That's why we're here now, because we want to hear what you guys have to ask us and give off. But the process of a traffic stop, you have multiple times to let someone know that you felt threatened during that traffic stop. The initial stop, like Officer Harden said, let that officer know that you feel threatened. After that,
if you get a citation from that officer, you're gonna go see a judge, whether it's a justice of peace or whether it's a city judge. You can let that judge know at that time that you felt threatened. And explain yourselves in a manner of you're getting your point across. Because if we don't explain ourselves, nothing will ever get done about that officer making people feel threatened on traffic stops.
And always remember now, you have 4 cameras that are recording you, and audio and video. And so if our officer does something wrong and you get mad at him, that is not the time to actually just make your complaint to IED, and then all the things that he did wrong you can bring up because it'll be on camera. So that's very, very important for you guys to remember that.
And I just want to kind of combine some of the last 2 questions. You know, as a citizen, and we've seen the video where people have, you know, the officers have the knees on necks, and all those people are standing around with their phones, right? And you would think that's enough to enact the justice that we feel is necessary. We also need to use the system that exists to actually work against those injustices. And I say that because not only can citizens record other stops that they feel are threatening or are happening in a way that's unjust, you can also call immediately. Imagine if everyone in this room is witnessing something inappropriate happening at the moment, and you call the police department and you say, right now you have officers that are using excessive force. 40 of you all are calling. Do you think that's going to affect some change? Do you think they're going to get additional cars there? We're going to have more eyes on there? So not just using your cell phones, because that's good, but I remember I talked to Chief about this, and sometimes those videos aren't actually making it to them. Sometimes they're making it to the media and other things first. So we want to make sure that we're using the system that exists, and we can overwhelm and use that system to hold them accountable. Okay?
Well, I had 2 questions, but Ms. Naomi kind of answered one of my last questions. But I was trying to see what is the Beaumont Police Department doing to change how the community and the public view them, and to, like the sheriff said, put their trust back inside,
What was the last part?
That's it, like the sheriff said, put your trust, like the community put your trust back inside.
That's a great question. And yes, we are, and I know the sheriff, Tony was one of the folks that worked in public relations. Let me tell you how important you young folks are. We go out in the community and we have a reading program that we do in the schools. That's the 2nd grade. We also have a program that goes to you folks that are in high school. It's called a Yale program. It's like a citizen police academy for the high school age kids. And you sit in class and you get to see all the things that the police officers do. You get to ride in a police car. You get to see what to do and what they do at a crime scene. It's such a neat program, and we do that every summer. You ladies and gentlemen that are going to college, we have a program called Practicum in Policing. This is for college-age kids. You get 3-hour credit at Lamar, and they go through a whole semester, and you're exposed to all the things that police officers have to deal with on a regular basis. It's a very, very important program, and you get 3 hours credit. It's very, very effective for us as a recruiting tool and also as a public relations tool. One of our biggest responsibilities you're seeing right now, and that's educating the public. And for you, ladies and gentlemen, to be so involved and so care about your community, to come in here and listen to what we have to say is so important to us. We care about you guys, and the fact that y'all are here, you care about the community, and I think you care about what's going on. So it's our responsibility to teach you and to show you all the things that we're doing at the police department, and also what we do at the traffic stop. We have videos that show you what to do at a traffic stop and why we do some of the things we do. So that's very important. And for the questions that you, ladies and gentlemen, have already showed, that shows that we're on the right track. At least we're listening to you and listening to what that's important to you guys, and it's also important to us.
Hey, there's another thing that we are doing. I used to head up our basketball team, right? And that was a big deal for me because I know that basketball's big in South Park, basketball's big in the North End, basketball's big all over Beaumont. So I figured, hey, let's get a team together and play against people in the community, play against coaches from the various high schools or fire department who we beat every time. So that was a big thing to me, right? But that's just one way of us reaching out into the communities. It's not on the grand scheme of things. It's not a big thing, a basketball game, but that's one way that we're showing, guys, we are normal, regular people who take this uniform off and we go home to crying babies and we go home and burn out meat on a barbecue pit. Like, we're regular people just like the folks that you live right next to. So we do have a bunch of outreach programs. We got a lot of them in these little pamphlets here. But that basketball one, that one was really near to my heart, the reading program. I used to read to students all the time. Every week I would go to various elementary schools here in Beaumont just to read. I'm not the greatest reader. Thankfully I was reading little small children books, but it was still something, just to get out in front of the young kids in our communities. But for people that are y'all's age, we have a different program, the Explorer program, which really shows you what being a police officer is like. Right? You get to learn how to do crime scene investigations. You get to learn how to do a traffic stop from our end. You get to learn how to do all kinds of police-related stuff, even in competitions where you go to Dallas or Houston or whatever city to compete against other Explorer posts. Also that, you can learn how to do this the police way, learn how police operate, but also just to keep kids out of the bad things that our streets have to offer. So there's a lot of different outreach programs that we do, but I would love to talk to any of y'all afterwards to go into further detail.
When Sheriff Stevens took over at the Sheriff's Department, one of the very first things she mandated was that the deputies could not just get in their car and ride around while they're on patrol. They had to get out of the car and talk to people. Get a name on the car, bring it back to them. That let us know that they were getting out talking to people. If you go to the Sheriff's Department and ask probably any one of our deputies, they'll tell you they're tired of hearing this from me. I tell them, all the deputies constantly, on every police car it says protect and serve. 99.9% of the police officers across the country have the protection part down. Where we sometimes fall short is understanding that there's service there also, which means we have to get out, mingle with the people that we serve, let them know, you're not going to see me just when times are bad or when you're having a problem. Just want to get out and have a cup of coffee with you. Just want to talk, shoot the bull a little while. Get you comfortable with me, get me comfortable with you. I learn who's in that community, who does what in that community. It's just everyday interaction between people. Just being real. That's how we gain the trust back.
Thank you very much.
As he approaches, I got one more question online from Christian Richmond. His question is, how do police officers deal or feel about what's currently going on right now? And how can we bridge the gap? So, how do police officers deal or feel about what's currently going on right now? And how can we bridge the gap?
As a police officer, I've been in this business for 33 years. And some of the things I see sick. One, it's wrong. It brings down my profession, because being a police officer to me is a profession. How do you deal with it? Internally, you're upset, but you gotta go out and do your job every day. I had a conversation with someone a couple of days ago, and the attitude was that they didn't understand why people were so upset with the police and talking about possibly, killing all the police or saying bad things about the police, and they were upset about it. And I said, well, here's the way I look at it. Yes, nobody should lose their life. And I understand that people across the country are upset, but they're not upset at every police officer across the country. They're upset at those that are in our profession that for whatever reason are corrupt. So when they're speaking out, I understand that they're not talking about me. I'm not in that category, so I don't take it personally. You have to be able to understand and feel somebody's pain and realize where it's coming from. Being open and honest about it. That's the big thing. That's going to be the answer to this problem. Law enforcement and the citizens are going to have to be real about it. Understand that some things that just don't occur. Some things should not be happening. And when they do happen, they need to be handled accordingly.
Well, for me, in my life, everybody pretty much saw what sparked all of this tension towards the community and police officers in the past month. We all witnessed a 9-minute video that hurt us all to the core. And for me, I had to go home and I had to talk to my children and my family about the do's and don'ts of law enforcement. And not only that, I had to talk to them about the do's and don'ts of being a person. Being a black man to my son. Being a black woman to my daughter. And I had to teach them the right things of their hearts. Because when my kids leave my house, they're taking what I taught them out into the community. And when I leave my house, I'm bringing to my job what I have in my heart. And it's for me personally, to affect change, it has affected me tremendously because that hurts. It hurts. It should hurt us all. Law enforcement, non-law enforcement, nothing. I always tell people, if you want to be in a public service position, we work for you guys, the taxpayers. We cannot have hate in our heart. We cannot hate at all. If we have any hate in our heart, we need to get another job, another profession. Because how can I hate you, but you pay my salary? It doesn't make sense. So I have to teach my kids and my families that every time that you go out, you got to have a good heart. You have to have a good heart. And your heart has to be pure. And without God and without prayer, we can't get through this thing. We won't get through this thing without God right now. We're still battling with things that we can't get over, and we ask ourselves why. It's because we don't have God in our heart. I pray every morning for my office before I go to work. I pray for every officer before they go to work. I pray. But if we're going to believe in the God that we say we believe in, we're going to trust the God that He lay on everyone's heart to be right, to be pure, and we're going to hold people accountable if they're not. Because God has placed me in this position. And just like I try to give a pure heart to my kids, when I come to work, I'm giving a pure heart around them too. Because I want people to see God in me. I want people to see Christ in me. So whenever I go to work, and whenever I talk to a person, when I walk away from that person, I want that person to say, man, it's something about me. It's something about me. And I give God glory that everything and everyone will turn to Him to get through these tough times. And that's how I do.
That's kind of hard to follow, man. Thanks for that. We feel, I can speak for myself, but I'm pretty sure that I speak for a number of officers on this, but we feel mad about it, we're sad about it, we're hurt. That said, the relationship, call a spade, the relationship between the community and the police has not been the best, right? It's been fractured at best. So that set this relationship back so far. The stuff that's going on, the stuff that we're seeing, these videos of these police officers making horrible decisions, is setting us back further and further and further. And so for me, it's infuriating. I'm mad because now I have to go and try to do damage control in the city that I'm living in. I patrol South Park. I wanted to go back to my own community. So now I'm having to do damage control where the same people that watched me grow up, the same little TJ that used to play ball at Alice Keaton, now they're looking at me like, yeah, but you wanted them though. So it's damage control, so that hurts because I'm the same one that we used to run together. What you talking about, right? So it hurts. It's also infuriating, and it's tiring, right? It's hard to deal with that kind of stuff. It's hard to see that. It's hard to see a human have his or her life taken off of a stupid decision by someone that wears the same uniform. Now we're all getting painted with the same broad strokes, but we're not the ones. We didn't do that, right? So it hurts us. It hurts the community. That's the part that hurts me a lot. I can take people saying stuff about my profession. I know you're not really talking to me. You're talking at me. You're talking to this uniform that I'm wearing, right? So I can take that, but when I see a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or a big brother take a young child and say, "Oh, hey, let's move around because the police are coming," that hurts to the core. That hurts because we're supposed to be here helping people. We're supposed to be here serving. And instead of being able to serve, instead of being afforded that opportunity to serve, it's being taken away from us by people that don't even live here, right? So it hurts us. It makes us upset. But man, it's tiring. Right? So that's a heavy weight to carry. It's bad enough we got to wear all this stuff. This is heavy in and of itself. But now you have to carry that emotional weight, and that hurts. That takes its toll on.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak as justice of the peace. We do have to have a relationship with law enforcement. And as a mother of Black sons and a Black daughter, you know, these events have been extremely difficult for me, but more so as a Christian. I'm going to be honest with you. I had to deal with how God wanted me to deal with this stuff, right? Because I was mad. And I'm like, how are we supposed to love our brother and these things are happening? What am I supposed to do? I had to deal with it. And so I went into prayer and some consultation with some spiritual leaders, and they reminded me about Paul when he was in prison. And how he wrote letters, and how he constantly stood up for his rights, right? He knew his rights. He was a very smart man. He knew what his rights were. He constantly spoke out about them. And that's how he was able to get a lot of things that he got accomplished while he was in prison, because he knew his rights. And so what that did was it invigorated me. We have to love our brother. We can't stop that, because that's the only thing that's going to win this. That's the only thing that's going to drive out the hate that exists in this world. But we also have to be empowered to know what our rights are. We have to be committed to holding people accountable. We have to be committed to fighting for social justice. And it kind of just renewed in me why I'm running for justice of the peace, and also the things that we can do as people, how we can hold these people accountable, and how we have to continue to love. So those are just ways that we can move forward in these times. We have to love, we have to continue to love our brothers, but we have to channel this power, this anger, and all this stuff that we have into usable power that can get things accomplished in this world to change it.
Let me finish, and I think this is something that all of y'all are aware of, but you haven't mentioned it. Look at ever since that horrible death, people all over the United States some people have been rioting and causing and killing people and destroying property. That hasn't happened in Beaumont. And do you know why? It's because of Pastor Cormier, all the other pastors that you have, and for folks like you. Y'all are trying to do it the right way. And we owe it to y'all to talk to you and have these forums. Y'all are doing it the right way. We have tried to do it the right way for the last 9 years for sure since I've been the chief. But we're out here trying to help you guys. And our citizens of Beaumont are doing it the right way. You have no idea how much that means to us. And you have pastors like you have, and leaders like you have in this church, and young men and women like you are right now, and like you're going to be. Because you're going to be the future, you're going to take charge, and you're going to do the right thing. It matters so much to us to see y'all doing it this way.
All right, so my question was, how do you all feel when you like see videos of, you know, people, or the police officers doing certain things to certain people and bad things happening? But the last question, and all your answers kind of answered that. But, you know, if you wanted to add anything, I appreciate it. And the second question was, you would like, a way for you to build trust with the community is, you know, by interacting with them and asking for the name. How do you do that when things like this happen and it gives the police a bad rep, and approach them to where they don't feel paranoid or they don't feel skeptical about interacting with police?
Do it by just being real.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, these things that happen. That's not going to change the way I still hang out in the North End.
Mm-hmm.
I still stop at Honey Stop, talk with all the guys out there. You have to be genuine, because people know when you're fake. Being fake ain't that great. You just got to be genuine. Again, you heard this young man speak about him being an officer. I grew up in the North End on Grand Street. If you go back to that neighborhood, probably when I was about 8 years old, everybody knew I was going to be a police officer. That's just something I've always wanted to do, and it was so I could try to change my community. I care about this community deeply. I'm never going to be fake. I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm going to do my job. I'm talking to you right now, but if you did something that warranted you going to jail, you would go to jail. But I don't take it personally. I can take you to jail, see you the next day, and say, hey man, what's up? It's not personal. I'm just going to do my job, and that's the end of it. We can't get into this us against them. It's not us against them. I wasn't always a police officer. I want to treat people just like I wanted to be treated. Respect is respect. That's easy.
Hey, can I add one thing to that? He's definitely afraid of speaking in front of a lot of people, but there's an officer back there who, for just out of compassion, just because he's a genuine, decent guy, he sees a guy whose wheelchair got all busted up, and this guy sitting on just a regular lawn chair. The bottom fell out, so he put some boards in it. He sees that, takes it upon himself to go and find this man a new wheelchair. He didn't post that on Facebook. He's not trying to advertise this to people, but that's one of the ways that we bridge that gap in the community. Is just like you said, about being real, right? Being genuine and saying, hey, yeah, I know I'll take some people to jail. I know tomorrow I'll probably have to take some more people to jail, but there's a need, and I think I can fill that. So he went and he filled that need. Not because he wanted recognition. He's probably gonna be mad at me when I leave here. But it's small stuff like that that starts to move the needle back to, okay, yeah, we can trust police. So that's a small example, but to that guy that needed that wheelchair, I mean, that's his legs. That's a big example to him.
So I'm sure everybody in here knows that Black Lives Matter, but there's also some who will say Blue Lives Matter too, or Blue Lives Matter more. So my question would be, how do you handle that, or how do you feel about that, being that you work with people who are not black?
A life is a life. I don't care what color it is.
Hello, my name is Nancy Smith. Before I ask this question, y'all, I think y'all should know that I'm just very upfront with issues. And my question would be just, why don't we see more majority at this table today? Like,
I feel like when it comes to Black Lives Matter, when it comes to this movement, it isn't y'all. Y'all aren't the problem. Y'all are what make us feel a sense of protection, that we are getting out there where we need to be out there with. So my question would be just, why don't I see people that we have the issue with so we could address those questions with them? Because y'all answers may not match the colleagues that our community is in fear with. So that's my question.
Well, that's a good question. But let me get this back to you. We are the problem because we supervise those people and we are accountable for making sure those people do the right thing. That's why we have a sheriff that we work for, hold us accountable to camera reviews, to looking at our use of force policies, to following up on complaints. Because if we're not doing our job, they're not doing their job right. And are we all perfect? No, we're not all perfect. Do we have perfect guys working for us? No. Is everyone from Beaumont? No. Is everyone from Jefferson County? No. But I'm gonna held accountable to make sure that God views stuff like the sheriff viewed it. Because we elected her. And her views of the sheriff's office, we operate. So if we don't operate her views, this guy here don't figure out this guy is not operating the way she wants this place to be operating. It's my fault. So I'll take blame for whenever one of my officers go and do something bad because I missed it, especially if I missed them. Now some people do have hidden agendas and some injustice do go on, but then it's my job to take care of that, leave that person out, and get someone like you to come take that person's spot so we can keep going. Because if you don't have good leadership, you'll never have good officers.
Okay, I'll take that for now.
I'm gonna just add a little something to her, what she brought up, and that's a very good point. This was not by design. This was because of our rank. I'm the chief deputy of law enforcement. He's the major of law enforcement. We're here by our rank. And I want you to see that and understand that any of you in here can attain the same thing. I want you to see me in this position and know that you can get there.
That's excellent. And I am the chief of police, and I'm responsible for all the officers here. And I wanted to bring, at least let you see 4 excellent police officers that are on the street every day that handle all the crazy and silly stuff and bad stuff that they do. Our citizens do from time to time. I am so proud of these 4 men, and they are such a great representation of what of the folks that we have in our department. And we do have some officers that will make mistakes from time to time, not because they're bad officers, but because they're human beings. And they do make mistakes, like I told you before, we'll handle that. But that's a great question. I've got to hear what you have to say so I can kind of change our policies. But I want y'all to, I want these 4 officers to hear what you have to say and make sure they're doing the right thing. Thank you very much. That was a great question.
My name is Robert Anderson. I got kind of long questions. I just bear with me. It's like 2 parts, kind of sort of. But I feel like a worldly problem with police officers and different black individuals is personal. Like you said, when some people see a cop, even though you grew up around the South Park area, some people that you knew was like, oh, let's get away, he's a cop, because you see him bad, right? But I feel like it's the same way with a cop. Like me, for example, I have on $35 shirts, $40 jeans, $20 shoes, right? And I drive a 2008 white Impala with paper tags and a fat dent in the back of the left rear bumper, right? So a cop sees that car in this area, I'm driving, and say I have my turn signal on too long, or I just do a little hard turn, I'm speeding a little bit, and they pull me over and they see this car. And I could be a car, they see me doing the same thing, but they see my car, they see it all beat up, and they see, because I don't have attention on it. So you see my hair, I got hair, earrings, etc., beard. And most people look at, oh, he might have drugs in his car, drunk, guns, etc. Or he just crack. Or because I'm listening to a little baby song or something like that. And they pull me over, and they come to see me physically. Does that, when you come up and walk up to somebody,
that you pull up, does that, like you said, I want to say, you think you want to get back home to your mom, your wife and kids, right? So you see someone like me, does something else click in your mind like, oh, he might have something on him that I might need to do something extra to make sure he doesn't do something to harm me or anything extra. And if so, or if not, there are cops that does have that type of mindset. So what could be changed in that, or that we can help change with that type of mindset of thinking that my clothes are not my resume, basically. Like you just looking at me, you would know that I graduated magna cum laude at Beaumont United and everything like that. Me and my friends all the same. We listen to same music, just about what, same clothes, all this like that. But we're good kids. Like this doesn't define who I am. That's not the content of my character, it's not my clothes. So like, I just want to know, does that actually set something off in your head when you see someone like me and don't even hear a word in my mouth, or not? Or does it happen a lot? What was the second part? I told you a lot. And what are things that we can do to change that in some of our police officers?
That's a great question from my magna cum laude, especially. Our sergeants, just like Officer Hardy said a while ago, our sergeants, and you guys know how dangerous a traffic stop is, but our sergeants, not only do they look at body cam footage, they look at every traffic stop, randomly select traffic stops every day, and they look at it and see how our officers are approaching the violators. And again, it's a dangerous traffic, it's a dangerous situation for us, but it's up to us, our supervisors, to review daily how they're approaching the violators. And if they are acting in a negative way just because of the way the drivers are dressed, we'll take that into consideration and we'll talk to them, because they have to be our guys have to be on point, but they can't be rude. They can't be biased based on the way somebody's dressed or the way somebody looks. And that's something that's very important to us. And I hope you ladies and gentlemen realize that it's a dangerous stop, but we've got to handle it like it's an everyday stop. But we will check that out on a daily basis, our sergeants. If we see a problem, we'll address it with our officer. I mean, and that's an important part of what we're trying to do as supervisors.
One way, again, that goes back to getting out in the community, being available, being seen, talking other than on a traffic stop or in your car. Because that just goes back to, again, I'm going to keep it real. That just goes back to, you can't understand where I've been if you ain't been where I'm from. You know, just because I dress this way don't mean that's what I am. That's what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
And to know that, I gotta hang around. I gotta be in that neighborhood. I gotta know how kids in a certain area dress. Things like that.
Your clothes and your style of music, which by the way, them shoes fire. But your clothes and your style of music it should never have any factor in why you were pulled over, right? So, the laws are pretty clear. A law is a law, and what you're wearing, what you're listening to, shouldn't come into to play as for why you're being stopped, right? Now, if it does come into play, then there needs to be training on that, right? It needs to be more training, maybe some review of some policy or something like that. But as far as people looking at the way you drive, I used to drive a Cadillac Seville. Shoot, Pastor Cormier, I had an 85 Pontiac Grand Prix. So I look just like you. When I don't have this on, I can't afford them shoes, but I look similar to that, you know? So I understand what you're saying, but that should never come into play. Just because you're dressed a certain way, just because you have a certain type of car, none of that should matter. The only thing that should matter is, was the law broken? And if it was, then yeah, you have a right to stop that person to enforce that law. If the law wasn't broken, you can laugh because you're listening to Little Baby, but that's about the extent of it. We should keep pushing.
Do me a favor. The guy in the white shirt, stand up for me. Yeah, you. Hey, stand up for me. 3 different styles. All black men. Will he fear the same fear that you have? Didn't stop? Yes. Because my mom taught me to dress like that. But my son dressed like you. And my grandmother wanted me to dress like you. That's our life. That's how we grew up. My son walked out the house, I'm running behind him. Hey man, where you going? Where you going? Are you going to an interview? No, you're going to go to an interview and you're going to look like that. Are you going to hang out with your girlfriend? No. I want you to dress like that. As a parent, and you're going to see more than that. As a parent, we fear how our kids leave the house and say, whoo, I hope he don't get stopped today. My son, $200 shoes, dressed like you, listen to the music. I don't have a problem with that. But you got to know what world you live in. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. We have racist people in this world. We have racist cops. That's why we've all tried to tell, from the chief telling you he's got 3-4 cameras on his guys, to Mr. Harden trying to tell y'all he grew up in the neighborhood and he still sees a difference. To Chief Porter trying to tell you guys that we're trying to bridge this community relations by talking to y'all, letting us know how it's going to be. So when you get pulled over, don't assume that you're getting pulled over because you're black. You handle that traffic stop like you're an responsible adult. You give your driver's license, your insurance, and you drive off. Now, if you thought you was pulled over because you was black and that officer had attitude, that's where the cameras come in. If that officer, you know that officer and grew up with that officer, it's oh man, it's just hard. Now you don't think he's being racist, but he could have done the same thing because it happens. And if now you know that officer from being around the neighborhood, you say, oh, what's up, bud? You know, we get along, this is a cool officer. Or if you have to come to me and make me hold that officer accountable for not doing anything. From the minute I walked in that door, I'm looking and saying, who can be the next cop? Your resume already starts off good. I want you. I'm not going to lie to you. I want you to come, sign up, be a cop, and say, man, I got somebody who graduated magna cum laude from United High School, and he's here now. He's helping us. I want this guy. I want this guy to say, man, he's getting it. I want that guy. I want all of y'all. But when you walk in this door, walk through this door right now, when you walked out of your house and saw yourself in the mirror, did you see a positive role model to everybody else? Only you can be comfortable with yourself. And I'm not telling you there's nothing wrong with the way you dress because I like your style. I'm going to probably go buy the same thing. But what I'm telling you is every stop, this is for all y'all, every stop is different. Every stop is different. What we have, me and him are privy of every day is pause and play. Pause and play. What that officer is not privy of is pause and play. He can't say time out, don't get attitude. I can't say, man, he just got offended because that officer beat him up. Or he got offended because that officer. We got the power of pause and play. So to change that, like Chief Porter said, to change that, just like we like to interact with y'all, when you see an officer, walk up to him and say, hey, how you doing? Because I promise you, that officer worked that beat, your area, he's going to know you. And if you put out to be somebody that you want to be, you need to change yourself. If you want to be a great person, it's not about how you dress. Because all 3 of y'all is right here. And all 3 of y'all, in my view, right now, are good black men coming to get some good education about law enforcement and the citizens' relations. Thank y'all for standing up.
And I just want to talk about what happens after a traffic stop, right? So you get a ticket, so you need to come to court. So let's talk about it. Guys, don't avoid going to court because what you have in court, especially when you're dealing with things like EPS tickets and you see a justice of the peace, you have a judge who can weigh in all the circumstances. So you can tell me how you felt in the traffic stop. You can tell me what your situations is, financial situations, and I can take all those things into consideration and make a ruling in that, possibly in your favor, right? I'm going to take those things into consideration and I'm going to rule in that way. And my view as a justice of the peace is that you judge in the best interest for the community. If you don't pose a threat, if you're not out doing things reckless continuously, a repeat offender of whatever the issue is, then you rule in the best interest of the community. community. So don't avoid court, because I know we have a tendency to just, forget things and not want to show up, but get your day in court. Stand before the judge and tell them what's going on, so that they can rule possibly in your favor. Something that could have been a $500 fine is now dismissed, or a $25 fine, because of whatever your situation is. So I just wanted to make sure that we know that that's the next piece, right? When you get that ticket, hopefully you had a good stop, you broke the law, you got the ticket, it is what it is, but now you get to come to a judge and you get to kind of plead your case and let them rule in the matter. So don't forget that. And also, representation matters, right? Having someone in a seat that can rule in your favor, who actually is familiar with the community, maybe who looks like you, maybe who feel that they don't have to look like you to actually care about you, right? To care about the interests of your community or what you're going through. So that's why it's important that we have people in positions that administer laws and rule for us that actually care about our community. And don't forget your day in court, guys. Show up and plead your case and let it be known what's going on. That's your opportunity to kind of speak on the things that you experience and what you have going on in your life. Okay?
All right, thank you. Anybody have a question? I feel like I had another one too. I just want to know your insight on the Star Spangled Banner, because honestly, for most of my life, I've known the song just based off hearing Whitney Houston or Beyonce sing it, just off here, right? But I never knew the meaning of what they were actually saying until Colin Kaepernick kneeled down and everything like that. And I started seeing videos now about they had a whole nother verse of the song that was solely about slavery and things like that, and how he won't, the man, I can't remember who exactly it was, but won't stand for it anymore, and this and that and the other about it. And like I said, I didn't know anything about this at a young age. My mom didn't even know about it much like that until now. And I feel like that falls on the education system. So what exactly could you guys do to help that Black history like that and many others like the Black Wall Street Tulsa? I didn't learn about that till one of my cousin's husband told me about it, and how it was bombed and everything like that. I didn't know about that. I didn't learn about that in school. I was learning Black history in school with Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. And I feel like education is what we should, is going to empower anybody, period, no matter what race it is. So you should know your history, of course. So what could you guys do to ensure that we know our Black history and for sure live by that?
Let me take this one. Let's talk about how the curriculum and stuff is established in Texas. It comes from the state. The federal government is basically they give the states kind of leisure to administer those things, and then it goes down to the school district, and then they kind of establish how they want the curriculum to be. Your school board is an elected position, right? Your superintendent is appointed by your school board. Your state officials, legislators, who decide the laws and stuff that govern education, they're elected positions. Federal people who are in charge of those things, they are also elected officials. So I'm saying all that to say that when you want to affect something on a large scale like that, you want to get your elected officials that have to deal with that. I know, like from a justice of the peace standpoint, there's not much that I can do as far as that's concerned, but I'm a Black woman, so obviously in my house we talking about all that, period. So that's what you want to look at, the organizations that actually affect those different things to really make change there.
As far as police go, we can't go into the schools and force teachers to teach about this stuff. My sister is a teacher, and I know she teaches a lot more about Black history than the textbooks have. But what we can do is really kind of what also Chief Porter was saying is community policing. Like if we're out in the community and we're hanging out with y'all, a lot of times I'm like challenging people to a push-up contest or something, right? So if we're out in the community just goofing off with people, talking and chopping it up, there's nothing wrong with me saying, hey man, you ever heard about Black Wall Street? Right? That has nothing to do with you breaking the law, me enforcing the law. That's just me learning who's in the community that I patrol, right? And that's you learning, hey, this officer ain't half bad, right? So we can't go into the schools and tell the teachers and the principals, hey, y'all need to be teaching more about Black history. Y'all need to be teaching more about whatever subject. But the wisdom and knowledge that we do have, the only way to pass it on to other people is to talk with them, right? So community policing, being out in the street, being at the parks, being at the rec, being wherever the people are, and having those conversations. It's really the only way that police officers can affect that part.
One thing I'll add to that is your generation has something at hand. Knowledge is all around you. School has a curriculum. There is nothing stopping you from educating yourself. You can go Google just about anything you want to learn about. Type what the school gives you. You don't feel that suffice? Take some self-initiative. Get out and look up and study what you're interested
in. Got a question from online here from Lava Silva. She wants to know why are cops trained to shoot to kill instead of trying to shoot in the leg or lower body, which wouldn't cause immediate death?
That's a very good question. Police officers have to, our department qualifies on pistol range once a quarter. And there's a mandate, you just have to qualify once a year, 50-round course. But the reason we do that, we don't shoot, we shoot to stop the bad guy, not to kill him, but we shoot to stop him. And the best way for us to stop them, if we're justified in using deadly force, the best way to do it is to do center body mass. We don't shoot to the head, we don't shoot to the ankle, we don't shoot to the leg, because in a high stress situation, it's very, very difficult to hit the target. So we are taught to hit the largest mass, the largest part of the body, and that's the mass, center mass. And we don't shoot to kill, we just shoot to stop the bad guy. And some of our officers are really good shots, but most of them are above average. They're all above average, but average or above. So the main thing is that in a high stress situation, we try to shoot for arm or leg, we may miss. But again, that's the reason we taught to shoot center mass, just to stop the guy, and that's the biggest target that we have.
I have a question to piggyback off of what Robert was talking about. So I have an aunt that educates me on everything, pretty much anything about being black. I know why I'm black, how I was made black, I know everything about that. I know pretty much a lot of stuff about law enforcement because I want to create something new. But what is that to educate the people of my age that may not have the technology on Google, that may not know what to research? What is that to educate them knowing their rights? Because I understand that we're read our rights once we're arrested. But we don't know that we can't record when a police officer runs up to the car. We don't know that we can't record if little John over there getting tackled. So what is that to educate us on our rights and what we can do?
What y'all got going on now? Your pastors getting a panel together, coming up. Now, the information that we give you guys, y'all need to go out and give it to your friends or those people who say they don't have access to that type of technology. And with change, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take everyone. It's not just going to take me or him or him or him or her. It's going to take us all. So just always keep that in mind. The information that you receive today from this forum, go out and tell your loved ones and your friends on the do's and don'ts now, because you know more now than you did before you woke up this morning.
And I'll just say, these type of engagements are very, very impactful and good, and hopefully we'll have more of these and have more youth come into them. But also, mentorship programs are really important, right? And what I believe about your generation is that while you have technology and cell phones and social media, so you have this cutting edge, right? And all you need is a little bit of guidance to kind of help you guys build it to be the powerful generation that you are slated to be. So mentorships are super, super important. And it's one of the things that I look forward to doing as just as a piece is connecting when we see those youth come into court. It's not so much that you need a fine, it's not so much that you need community service, but you need a little bit of guidance to help you get into the right lane, right? And so that's the key thing is finding people who actually represent the things and know the things and know something that maybe you don't know and connecting with them and saying, hey, can you help me understand X, Y, Z? You'll be surprised if you come, especially these people on this panel, if you were to come to the people on these panel and ask questions, I'm sure you would be received with, all the information that you want and very much so accessible and accountable. And that's what you're looking at that's what you want in leaders, right? You want people who can be accessible and accountable. And so I think if you're looking for someone to help you, mentorships is your best option to kind of like your auntie did for you, right? There's a bunch of people in my generation and above that are willing to help and guide our youth.
The key word there is mentorship. I'm glad you mentioned that word. Also, Hardy told you, ladies and gentlemen, about a bunch of programs that we have. We also have a mentoring program. Officer Bianca, could you come up real quick and tell them a little about the mentoring program that we have for the young kids? This is very important, ladies and gentlemen. This is a program that we have for the at-risk kids and also kids like you guys. We have 15 officers that have volunteered for this program, and Officer Bianca and all these other officers are involved. Let me tell you a little bit about it.
We started the program a couple of years ago. It really began as a fitness program. It was proposed, and basically some of you don't know, but we actually have a program where we would just go work out with y'all. Not in uniform, just hanging out, working out. And at the same time, we will take that time to talk a little bit about yourselves, police work, and anything that we can do to help you have a better future. Now, that eventually developed into what we have now, which is the mentoring program. And even today, it is still growing. We have attended specialized courses to talk to teens that have dealt with trauma, meaning that they live in what we consider a broken home. We also talk to teens that have both parents at home. Again, the program is still growing, but we have several different opportunities. We don't have as much turnout as we wish we would. I mean, if you look here, look how many empty chairs we have. We wish this was full so that we could talk to every single one of y'all, and y'all could also ask us different questions, because there's people that are not here that have great questions. So with the mentoring program, we take that opportunity to talk one-on-one with different teenagers from the community. And this is just restricted to Beaumont right now. Not only do we have group activities where we try to develop some life skills with them, but we also have, again, just private one-on-one interaction to where I can try to help a young man, hey, what do you want to do in life? How can I help you? Not as a police officer, just man-to-man, what can I do for you? We have all these opportunities, so I really encourage all of you, especially the parents, if you have children that are teenagers, bring them over, call the police department, call PCR, get some information so they can attend and actually talk to us, because we've seen great results. Not only that, some of you may have questions and you're shy from getting in the microphone. Well, this is the opportunity where you can talk behind cameras, nobody's watching, nobody's listening to what you think you may not want to ask. You can ask us anything you want. Like I said, this is a very just one-on-one interaction thing where we can truly be ourselves, not just somebody being intimidated because I'm wearing a uniform, a badge, and a gun. We talk just like men to men, women to women, humans talking to each other, Americans talking to each other.
Hey, to add to that, we also have the Yale program, which we mentioned earlier, but that Yale program is really for young people that want to either become a police officer, they want some type of law enforcement career, or a criminal justice career. So to answer the question about, how do you learn about your rights, even if we don't have access to Google? I didn't have access to the internet till I was like 8th or 9th grade. So I didn't know anything about laws or rights and all that. But that Yale program is that's what it's for, is to help young people know law enforcement, but also the criminal justice system. So that's one program that we have here at BPD, but the other program is the Explorer program. I know I touched on both of those earlier, but that Explorer program is more so geared toward, hey, this is how you become a police officer. This is what police officers do. This is what the job looks like from behind the uniform. The Yale program is more so, these are the laws. This is what law enforcement is about. This is what law enforcement does. This is what the criminal justice system looks like. So both of those are real programs that we have here, and it's free. It's not, we're not charging people to come and do it. So any young person that wants to, you'll have to put it in an application. That's no different than wanting to go find a job. You still got to put it in an application somewhere. So the most work that you'd have to do is to put in an application, and you get to learn all about your rights. You get to learn all about criminal justice. You get to learn all about law enforcement. That's open to all of y'all. So everybody that's here, take that info, take that knowledge, and go give it to some of your buddies and relatives back at home.
Thank you.
So you said that y'all deal with some crazy people, right? You never know who you're going to deal with. So why do cops feel threatened by the people that they're arresting, especially black people, if y'all have guns and weapons, and even if the person being arrested has a weapon, we are still helpless, and our lives are in your hands?
So, give me the first part of that one more time.
Why do cops feel threatened by the people that they're arresting if they have the weapons and the power and the authority, and we are helpless? Even if we have a gun, we are helpless, and our lives are in your hands.
Mm-hmm. So, just to be straight with you, if a person has a weapon, gun, knife, brick, doesn't really matter. If they're intent on hurting me, my life is in their hands just like theirs is in mine, right? So that person can decide, oh yeah, I'm about to take this dude out, right? So at that point, it's kind of a crapshoot on whether or not he or she is able to do it, right? So we're nervous just like everybody else, right? We see through training, through experience, we see so many videos of calls gone wrong, from officers being too trusting and saying, okay, I think this older gentleman I think he's okay, and I'm just gonna go with my guard down, and next thing you know, that older gentleman has a rifle aimed at that man's head, right? So we walk into these situations not knowing who these people are. And they are in a situation not knowing what officer they're gonna get, right? So it really is a real delicate balance on trust. And that's just being honest with you. Right now, nobody likes to get hit. I mean, unless you're in the UFC or something. No, I don't. I go on calls and there are people that are literally trying to take my head off with a punch. I don't want to get hit in my face. I ain't the prettiest dude, but I don't want to be no uglier than I am. So I don't like to get hit. So I'm looking like, hey, stay back, dude. I'm not trying to wrestle with you. I'm not trying to fight with you, right? But at the end of the day, I do have a job to do. I do have to protect the other people that are around, because these days a lot of people like to record. So if this dude is high on PCP, there are a lot of people that love to smoke these kind of drugs that really alter their brain and make them do some stuff that normally they wouldn't do. So if I'm trying to arrest a guy who's high on something and he's going crazy in the neighborhood, there's still a lot of people that are right there with their cameras, watching and recording and putting it on Facebook Live and everywhere else. I still have a duty to protect them. And so if I just say, I'm not going to go hands-on and grab this guy's wrist and try to put him in cuffs, Well, who's to say he's not gonna turn around and start beating on somebody? Then I'm not doing my job, right? So I'm nervous because I got a really aggressive person in front of me who doesn't want to go to jail, right? That person is looking at me like I don't want to go to jail and I'm gonna do whatever I can to not go. So now you have two nervous people. We're trained, we go through extensive training. At the end of the day, we're people. None of us want to get hit. All of us want to go home. It's a risk that we take when we put this uniform on. But the truth is, nobody wants that. Neither side.
The goal is for all of us to go home. If I'm at a traffic stop with you, I want you to go home. And I want to go home to my family as well. The goal is never to hurt anyone or to get hurt for that matter. Just like when you're interacting with us, you don't want to get hurt by me, but I don't think you want to hurt me either, right? I don't want to create any situations in which there's a possibility where you're going to try to hurt me or I'm going to try to hurt you or, whatever. The goal is always to make every situation that we go to as safe as possible. Are we threatened by you personally? No. We're threatened by the weapon itself. It's not you, it's the weapon, because we don't know what the outcome is going to be if I allow that to become a possibility where you may try to hurt me and then I'm going to have to try to hurt you as well. Like I said, my goal is to retire and never have to discharge my gun on a person. That's my goal. And I think I can speak for just about every single police officer. We don't come to work, man, I wonder if I'm going to get to shoot someone today. No, we don't want that. It takes a toll, no matter if you're an officer or not. If you have to use deadly force against somebody, it takes a toll on you personally. You got to live with that decision that you made. So the goal is always to make a situation as safe as possible so that you don't get hurt, I don't get hurt, and we both go home. So the threat is not you, it's really just the weapon and the possibility. So we try to create a safe scenario as possible.
My second question is, everyone is not meant to be a cop. Everyone isn't going to be a cop. Not all black men are going to be a cop just because George Floyd died. So why don't we focus more on fixing the system that we have now rather than worrying about what's going to happen later in the future?
That's what we're doing at the sheriff's office. Like Chief said in the beginning, that's why we had to go sit down and go through all of our policies. Actually, at the sheriff's office, we review our policy every year. And is it some policy that we just had to update from the previous incident? Yes, we did have to update some policy. But that's a continuation of being in law enforcement. It's a revolving door. Things is going to change. Things will be different next year, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. And as things happen, we have to try to stay on top of them and make our jobs and our rules better than what they are holding on the county.
Thank you.
Great questions, really quick. You guys can make your way to Mike. I'm going to ask an online question or two just for further clarification on our question. The presence of a weapon in and of itself is not the crime, right? Because they do have a Second Amendment right. So you guys are not saying simply because what anybody in that's African American would fear that if you see an African American practicing their Second Amendment right, that you automatically can assume that it's a crime for them to have it. So you guys, for clarification, are not saying simply the presence of the weapon in and of itself makes you more heightened that they're prone to violence, right? Because that's their Second Amendment right? You're saying if they're doing something with that weapon that you feel is threatening you, then you guys act from there, correct?
Correct. If a person is exercising their Second Amendment right, that's fine. You have that right. But if you have that, we'll say a gun, for example. If you have a gun and I come up to you for a lawful reason, let's say you stole a Snickers, I don't know. But if I have a reason to be there, somebody called because this person has done something, and that person has a gun, fine. But if I ask, hey, do you have any weapons on you? Have anything on you? And they say, yeah, I have a gun. And I say, okay, don't reach for it. Just tell me where it is. That's one of the things that I say every time. Don't reach for it. Just tell me where it is. After I say that, and you go, oh, when you just reach for it. I don't know if it's loaded. I don't know if it's, I don't know what you have in your mind. Maybe you're just trying to show me, but I specifically just said, don't reach for it. Just tell me what it is. So I can't tell you how many times I've run across that exact scenario. I say, don't reach for it, whether it's a knife or a gun or whatever. Just tell me where it is. And you'd be surprised how many people actually reach for it anyways. And so when I do grab a hold of them, I'm like, man, what are you doing? I said, well, I literally just told you not to reach for it. Oh, I just wanted to show you where it is. Why? I want to go home too. I want you to go home too. You got a family, you need to make it home to that family, so do I. So just communicate is really what it boils down to.
That's great. I was only asking for further clarification simply because we know that if there's been studies that's done, there's plenty of video evidence that if there's a white person with a gun and there's a black person with a gun, typically we will have a conclusion or a draw into that maybe the white person is exercising their Second Amendment right, but the black person is most likely trying to commit a crime. And we just don't know. So I just wanted to clarify that. The question really quick from online was, who regulates the lieutenant to make sure he's honest when he's viewing the video? And is there any plans to get an independent viewer of those video cams?
Our system is already designed to, because our guys have to keep their log. And that log is their trust that supervisor and their deputy is doing their responsibilities. On the different set of passwords, administrative duties, my chief and I, we go at the end of the month and we actually print off who's actually reviewing the logs. See what I'm saying? So we'll get those logs and we'll compare the two to make sure that, okay, this officer didn't put anything that he looking at a video, which is a heightened. You know, why are you looking at this video so many times? Did you do something right or wrong or whatnot? But that's why we have to give them to our chief at the end of the month, because he'll go and print the administrative report, and it's going to hold that log accountable for it, and to make sure that the log is being reviewed and all around. That's how we handle it at the sheriff's office.
Do you think defunding, abolishing, or reforming the police will be effective in any way?
I couldn't hear you.
Do you think defunding, reforming, or abolishing the police would be effective in any way?
No, I don't believe in defunding police departments or sheriff's office. I believe in police reform, and I believe in reforming the way that we're doing things. But to defund us, I'm totally against that. Me personally.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to speak to what the young lady was saying about changing the system and why we're focusing on the future. So we have to realize that there's a short game and a long game in all this, right? So the short game right now is for people to be reviewing their policies and procedures and making updates because we see that these things are not working, right? So that's what we expect from good law enforcement. That's what we're seeing. The long game, though, is that we need to put people in these places, in these law enforcement agencies that look like us, that care about the things that we care about. That's the long game, right? So that's why recruiting is a big thing for these law enforcement agencies, because they want people from the community so that they don't have biases, so that they can properly police these areas. So it's twofold, okay? So we gotta expect that there's gonna be some immediate change, but we also have to realize that there's some things that we need to set in play for the future. Okay, so I think that's important to know that.
With racial tension so high right now, like, you know, for patrol officers, like, do we have to do traffic stops? Are y'all more careful now? Like, do you have any new procedures? Because, you know, racial tension so high, like, in the past 2 weeks, do you see, like, people more jumpy? Or do we, like, is it like normal?
People are more jumpy. Just being honest with you. I can't say everybody, but I see a lot of people that are real quick to go, hey, I ain't doing nothing wrong, I got my hands up, and they make this big show of compliance, which, great, thank you, I appreciate that. But I think, like I just said a minute ago, comes down to communication. If I ask you a question, if you don't understand what I'm asking, just say, man, I don't know what you just said, right? It's just two people having a conversation. So people are being a little jumpy. People are I guess, heightened. But once everybody comes down, the base level is still going to be communication. We still have to communicate clearly. And that's not just citizen to police officer. As an officer, I have to make sure that I say exactly what I need you to do. Not because I'm trying to flex on you, but because I really do want you to go on and enjoy your day as best as you can, right? So I have to communicate, hey man, all of the moving around inside your car, you keep like reaching around up underneath your seat or reaching behind your seat or when you reach into your glove compartment, you kind of shield it, like, you seem like you're trying to hide something. Are you trying to hide something from me? If I don't communicate that, if I just immediately say, hey, get out, I'm not as effective as I could be, right? So it really does boil down to being an effective communicator. If I have something that I need from you, I need to be able to communicate that effectively. And I have to say it in a way that I know, okay, you heard everything I said, and if you didn't understand it, then shoot it back to me. And that's how that conversation should go. And that'll bring down tension quite a bit.
And do the patrol officers feel any type of jumping? Like they feel like they're unsure about traffic stops now with the rest situations?
Honestly, right now, with this COVID-19 thing, nobody wants to do a traffic stop. I don't want to be right at your window because I don't know if you have COVID-19. That's just being real. But I'm sure people are. I am a pretty laid-back person. I think if you ask anybody that knows me, they will tell you he's just pretty laid-back. So I don't tend to get real jumpy and uptight. So I can say that for myself personally. But I'm sure there are officers that are like kind of hesitant to because they don't know, am I going to be labeled that one racist cop in Beaumont or that one racist officer in Jefferson County? I'm sure there are officers who are thinking that way. But again, communication. If that officer can clearly communicate the message that they need to send, there shouldn't be an issue, right? Especially with 4 different cameras on them, it shouldn't be an issue.
All right, we got a couple questions online there. We're just going to try to, if you could just short answer them, we'll just kind of run through these questions, and then we'll try to wrap it up. And if you have any other questions, we ask the teams, don't be afraid we got several officers here. We got Ms. Naomi here. Don't be afraid to approach them with social distancing in mind, and like I said, get to know a person. One question that they were asking about the PAL program, DARE program, Chicken Club, asking Explorer Club, bringing those back into the schools.
The Sheriff's Office still have a DARE program that operates in Needham. The Needham School District actually funds it, but that was a national grant from the federal government that paid for those things. That's not nothing local.
And we don't have a PAL program anymore, but I think you heard there's like 6 or 7 programs that we do have that we offer from the youngsters, and we're proud of those programs, and we're going to build on thanks to things like this. We're going to build on those. So we're going to keep learning. We're going to listen, and we're going to learn.
All right, so we got, like I said, a few questions here. If you guys can just kind of respond to them pretty quick. This one is actually directly at the Beaumont Police Department. It comes from Mr. Albert Turner online. He says, why is there not a black officer in public relations in the Beaumont Police Department permanently, not temporarily, to assist with community relationships, especially being that Beaumont is 50% African American? Our community has done our part doing things the right way. This will definitely assist in our community relationship efforts.
They want to know why a black officer is not where?
Why is there a black officer in public relations in the Beaumont Police Department?
Well, that's a good question. The last one we had was Tony, and he didn't get his scheduling right. So we hadn't filled his position yet. And we're going to do that soon. But, you know, one thing that we failed in is not because we haven't tried. I think we do not have enough African Americans or minorities in our department. And let me tell you one reason. We even have one of our booklets right here. It's a recruiting booklet that we got with the 100 black men and NAACP and put together this booklet to try to hire qualified minorities. It gives the folks to read this booklet everything they need to do to apply and be accepted in the Beaumont Police Department. We need qualified black applicants, and we're doing our best, but it's been very difficult because we're competing with the same people that are Total, Mobil, Exxon, and Chevron. So we're trying very hard, and if y'all are interested, we would love to talk to you about being a Beaumont police officer, because these four young men right here are excellent examples of what a great career you could have down there.
The other question there was, you got several different people that have asked about bringing back the PAL program. I mean, we got several come in, so just know that's a high interest of the community, that they want to see that something similar, if not that PAL program or DAC program. They've even mentioned that by name several times, multiple people. So just know that's a concern of the community. That's something they would like to see initiated. Another question is, why is this panel majority African American? There should be more white cops here to answer some of these uncomfortable questions.
Exactly. That's right.
I don't know. You talking about this panel right here?
Yes, sir. Yeah, this is not me, by the way. These are questions I'm reading online. This is questions I'm reading online.
You talking about the panel?
They're wanting to know, even if I'm just kind of deciphering this right, is that even the picture that we're getting here, maybe more so on the sheriff's part, but the picture that we're getting here is not the picture of what they're going to get a good chance of when they come in contact with them patrolling in the neighborhoods.
That's my question.
The majority of the police force is majority white males or white females. There's very few African Americans. So they're saying, why don't we see a more accurate representation of what the police force looks like here today?
And that's what that young lady right there was trying to ask her.
Yeah. Was that clear?
Oh, yes, it was. Chief Jeffco was the one that made the assignments today, but we had 15 folks that we drew from, and it happened to be, we have 3 black males and a Hispanic male, and I'm sorry we didn't get another white male, but it wasn't by any intention. We picked four out of 15 mentors, and that are volunteering to help the community, and these just happen to be on top of the list.
As far as the sheriff's office, we were invited at the last minute. I mean, this was very late notice for us, and to volunteer to get people here, just their last minute. I mean, we took away from our families to come here and answer questions for the public.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I know as far, even with the sheriff's office, I know that we got the notification out to Zena there. I think Father Bunny goes, we appreciate you guys for sure being here. And another question there was about sensitivity training, our cultural training. Do your officers have any of that? Are you even considering providing cultural sensitivity training for your officers that may not be from these communities that they are patrolling?
Yes, it's mandated by, I think, the state and also our department. We have sensitivity training, we have de-escalation training, and cultural diversity training. And those are 3 classes that all of our officers must go through to be a police officer. And some of it's even in service, and they have that on a regular 2-year cycle.
Another question was, will you guys consider providing training for teenagers on when they're getting pulled over. Similar to, I'm assuming similar, just more interaction how Officer Hardy here described the process of what he's thinking, just for the sake of both parties, making this a smoother process for both parties. And personally, my thing is that we can have more interactions and still walk away both parties with their dignity intact.
Yeah, we have a video on our Facebook page that shows exactly what to do on traffic stop and why we do what we do and what we expect for the traffic violator to do. So we will start putting that out more and more, and that's very important, obviously. And we do have some training videos that will show the folks just exactly what to do.
I think the last one we have is just how often do you guys update the psychological tests and profiles of your officers?
We for Beaumont PD, we to get hired, you have to take a psychological test, and at any time and any investigation that I deem necessary, we can ask our officers to have a psychological test.
I think that's all I got. You got any more?
Just got one came in, they're asking, your police programs, they start at the elementary level.
Yeah, they do. They start at the elementary level. It's real introductory. First, it's just officers coming to read at all the elementary schools. But it goes from there to some of the Cops and Kids programs, stuff like that. So it starts at a real introductory base level, but as they get a little older, it goes more in depth.
One of the things, ladies and gentlemen, that we do, it's a really neat event. It has over 3,000 young kids and parents. It's a Halloween trunk or treat. It is a neat deal where all the kids dress up in their different costumes, and we have all the police vehicles inside the Civic Center. And we give away free food, candy, all sorts of prizes. And we had over 3,000 come last year. And it is amazing, more and more, this makes us feel good, our officers feel good, that more and more kids are dressing up like police officers. And that makes us feel good. And what we're seeing lately is there's some adults dressing up like police officers, and we really don't know what to make of that. But that's a neat deal. Everybody has fun. You get the parents and the kids together along with police officers in a positive setting, and it's been really, really successful.
All right. We did have one. I think this is a pretty good question. What are the triggers, since this is hard on online, what are the triggers observed by officers that make them feel like they need to use excessive force? I think you've hit on a few times, but that was another question that's coming.
It's a lot of, if I'm understanding the, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was wondering, I'll read it one more time for you guys. If I can find it. What are the triggers observed by officers that make them feel like they need to use excessive force?
That's going to be based on every officer. I can't go inside of each officer and say, this is what makes him or her feel like, hey, I need to step this up a bit. But the obvious things that I think every officer should be alarmed by is when a person decides to take up a fighting stance. There's no real reason if I'm trying to find out, hey, what's going on here? Why was I called here? And a person squares up with me. Well, I think you just ruled out talking to me. I don't think you want to talk now. So there are certain things like that. If an officer is asking you, like I said earlier, you have anything on you that'll hurt me or hurt you, and a person is honest and says, yeah, I have a pocket knife. Well, if I ask you, okay, keep your hands right where they are, just tell me where that knife is. If you quickly jam your hand in your pocket, that's a problem, right? So things like those type of movements when we're asking you and we're real clear on hey, I need you to do this, and you do the exact opposite, especially when it comes down to having a weapon. So stuff like that. I mean, like I said, it's real hard to determine what are the red flags that goes up that makes an officer decide, hey, I need to step this up because this person is starting to get aggressive. It's hard to say that for each officer because it's going to be different for each officer.
Just wanted to clarify that question.
Yes, sir.
Because
what are triggers observed by officers that make them feel like they need to use excessive force?
okay, that's why I wanted you to clarify that question, because there's never going to be a time that an officer should be okay with using excessive force. An officer should only use force necessary, equal to, or just a step above the force that's being applied towards him.
So very cool. I appreciate it. I think got anything else on that? All right. Well, listen, we want to thank the panel again for you guys taking the time. I would appreciate it. I'm on the Sunday evening, but we want to thank you guys more importantly that hopefully you see that this is an investment in the next generation. Before we know it, these will be tax-paying citizens. I know there's a lot of parents that are going to be glad that they have their own jobs and buying their own expensive shoes. But we and teenagers, I hope that you know and you see the power of your voice here today, and we want to continue to encourage you to exercise that voice and speak up and know that you are that you guys contribute to our local community. So if you don't mind, we want to remind you guys on your way out to, I think we have something set up for them. Did we have a chance to set it up for them to fill the bag? That's okay. But just please grab a box on your way out. That's Jason's Deli. It's a sandwich. Grab one and take it on your way out there. And we're grateful that you guys did that. Can we just close out in prayer really quick? Is that okay? Dear God, we thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for each and every teenager. Thank you for their boldness to speak up. Thank you for their willingness to just express their concerns. Thank you for the panel, for their willingness to have an open heart to hear these questions, to answer, God, with sincerity, and to give a perspective, God, on how they're trying to just do their best, God, to provide for their families and serve this community. So we thank you, and we ask these things in your son Jesus' name. Amen.